Constitution is the guide which I will never abandon. George Washington. Well, the Constitution has governed and guided our country for many years. You may be wondering, when did it come about? Where? And how? Well, it all started in 1787 with the Constitutional Convention and ratification. The people of the newly formed United States of America began to realize that the Articles of Confederation, ratified in 1781, and the document now governing the country, would not keep their nation together. And so each state except Rhode Island sent delegates to the Pennsylvania State House to construct and write a new form of government. This was known as the Constitutional Convention. And the delegates spent May through September of 1787 writing a new form of government. Three of the main things that were discussed and debated during this convention were firstly, what the occupations of the people governing the nation should be. Secondly, whether the people should be represented in the federal government based on the population of their state or not. This debate led to two separate plans. The first is known as the Virginia Plan. This plan wanted to scrap the Articles of Confederation, end state sovereignty, and build a strong national government, which was split into three sections, with the legislative section of this government further split into two more sections. Oppositely, the New Jersey Plan wanted to beef up the Articles of Confederation. And so after debating and discussing, it was seen that the Virginia Plan was going to win. This led to a series of compromises. The greatest of these is known as the Connecticut Compromise, in which it was decided that the legislative branch of the federal government would be split into two sections, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives would be elected directly by the people of the state, and each state would get a proportionate number of representatives based on the population of their state. Whereas the Senate would be elected by the state legislators, and each state would get 2 senators regardless of its population. The end of this debate, however, led to a further dispute, and my third and final point. And this was, who would be counted towards the population when it came to the House of Representatives? Would slaves be counted towards this population? The Southern slave owners thought they should be. The North, not so much. This dispute and discussion led to what is known now as the Three-Fifths Compromise. This compromise stated that a bondage servant would be considered 3/5 of a free white inhabitant. This gave the South an advantage in the House of Representatives. And so after debating and discussing, the delegates at the Constitutional Convention decided to get rid of the Articles of Confederation, and they wrote the Constitution, which was eventually signed by 38 out of the 41 delegates that were present at the Constitutional Convention. This wasn't the end, however. The Constitution still had to be ratified by 9 states before it would become the governing law of the land. 4 states ratified the Constitution by December of 1787. However, some states were concerned that the Constitution did not protect the political rights of the people. In response to this, the first amendments to the Constitution, now known as the Bill of Rights, were proposed. Following this, in 1788, 5 more states ratified the Constitution, making the total number of states to have it ratified 9, and making it the governing law of the land. Following this, in 1789, the Bill of Rights was produced, protecting the political rights of the people. And lastly, in 1790, Rhode Island became the last state to ratify the Constitution, after the United States threatened to sever commercial relations with it if it did not. And so, the Constitution, which was carefully thought out and discussed by the delegates at the Constitutional Convention, has governed and guided our country for many years. And it has kept our nation together because it is founded on the rights of the people and not the wishes of the powerful. And most importantly, because it was written on the basis of God.